There are many alternate realities in both DC and Marvel comics, but for this video, I want to talk about 5 grim realities in the Marvel universe, or universes. Warning, there are spoilers for comics from years ago, so if you don't want spoilers for past comics, just in case you're going to go back and read them, avoid this video. So grab your popcorn and apathy and let's begin. Number 1. Earth 81727. In this reality, Jean Grey does not sacrifice herself to destroy the Dark Phoenix, and instead ends up destroying the universe. This is in the story What If Phoenix Had Not Died? So this is kind of a messed up story, but instead of escaping from aliens, they end up capturing her and the X-Men team, and they give Jean Grey a psychic lobotomy. And their thought process is, well, if she can't use the portion of her brain that accesses her mutant abilities, then the Phoenix can never take control of her body and do just awful things throughout the universe. And like most well-laid plans that involve lobotomizing young women, it doesn't work out. When a planet is in trouble, Jean convinces the X-Men to go rescue it, even with her not having the ability to use her powers. But when Cyclops is almost killed, the Phoenix Force in Jean Grey wakes up, and she saves the planet. But just because Jean Grey can use her powers again doesn't mean that everything is just a honky-dory. As time goes on, she begins losing control of the Phoenix Force and eventually goes to a different galaxy to consume a star that wasn't around any planets that had life, but still, the X-Men get a little pissy with her about it. So the X-Men confront her over it, and Jean Grey goes Dark Phoenix and just starts to slaughter them. Highlights: turning Kitty into a pile of dust, putting Professor X in a vegetative state, flinging Angel headfirst into a brick wall for an insta-kill, burying the extremely claustrophobic Storm alive, throwing Nightcrawler on a pyre of hellfire, throwing Wolverine at Colossus in his normal form and having his claws go right through his heart, then throwing Wolverine in the hellfire, and lastly, Dark Phoenix blasting Cyclops fully in the face, killing him instantly. Jean Grey has a moment of clarity and realizes that she slaughtered her friends and family, and she just goes mad with grief. Finally, the Dark Phoenix becomes the dominant personality and just destroys the universe. So basically, happy endings for all. Yay? Number 2, Earth 2081, Incredible Hulk, The End. So in this universe, we finally just lose our fucking minds and we just nuke the shit out of each other. On Earth, there's a nuclear holocaust and everyone is wiped out except for Bruce Banner and the Hulk. And this is incredibly sad in the first place because, well, one, all humans are dead and we no longer exist and there's just one man wandering the world, but also because Bruce Banner is incredibly alone and he's wandering the Earth looking at the ruins of civilization and realizing that his best friend is now his hand. Take that multiple ways, I don't really care. Banner wants to die, but all his suicide attempts end in failure. The Hulk won't let him die. Eventually he comes upon mutated gigantic cockroaches, and essentially the Hulk fights them and is eaten alive by them. Then he heals. Banner pleads with the Hulk to just let him die so that they can go to paradise where their friends are waiting. But Hulk refuses, remembering his friends had always betrayed him. Banner finally goes away and the Hulk rules and knows that if he ever changes back into Banner, he would also die. The Hulk feels that he doesn't need Banner, but then he realizes something. Hulk, strongest one there is. Hulk, only one there is. Hulk feels cold. Number 3, Earth 807128. In this grim reality, supervillains have managed to take over the world, and it's just as much of a shit show as you would imagine it would be. And the reason why they end up taking over the world is all because of the night that the heroes fell. This night occurred when Wolverine was at the X-Mansion with Jubilee, and they received an emergency signal from S.H.I.E.L.D., the Fantastic Four, Avengers, and basically everywhere. They were under attack. The mansion was invaded by a group of supervillains, and Wolverine began to get the younger students to safety. Then Wolverine killed all the villains he could find until he was down to Bullseye. After killing him, Wolverine sees that it was really Jubilee, and that Mysterio had created an illusion. Wolverine hadn't been killing villains this entire time, but slaughtering his fellow X-Men. In shame and grief, Wolverine ran away and even tried to kill himself, but failed. For 50 years, Wolverine is so ashamed and just devastated by what he did that he doesn't pop his claws, he becomes a family man, he owns a farm, and he refuses to go by the name Wolverine, he only goes by Logan. One month when he can't pay rent on time and realizes that the Hulk gang, which owns the area where he lives, won't give him any extensions, he ends up going on a mission with a very, very old Hawkeye who promises to get him the money in order to pay the rent. On the mission, they witness Daredevil and the Punisher being eaten by dinosaurs, they fight with Red Skull, who is now the President of the United States with his face on Mount Rushmore, a boy that has Ant-Man's helmet and threatens to devour people with ants unless they pay a toll of 80 cents, corpses everywhere, and lots of dinosaurs. On the mission, Hawkeye is killed and Wolverine returns to his home with the money to pay rent. When he gets home, he asks his neighbor, "Hey, where's the Hulk gang? I have the money to pay them," and his neighbor informs him that the Hulk gang, they got bored and just decided to slaughter Wolverine's family. And this is when he just absolutely fucking snaps and sees the broken bodies of his family. So Logan loses it, resumes going by Wolverine, and after decades of not popping his claws, he tracks down every single member of the Banner family and slaughters them. Finally, he comes to Bruce Banner, and they fight until Bruce eats Wolverine. Later that night, Hulk feels unwell, and from his guts, Wolverine pops out. Wolverine then set out to restore order in the country. Oh, and by the way, and this is really exciting for me, but probably isn't exciting for you, this Wolverine is now in the main 616 Marvel comic universe. Number 4, Earth 2149, Marvel Zombies. This is a terrifying universe where a zombie infection breaks out and it infects our superheroes and they go around just devouring everyone, and eventually they run out of people to eat, so they even go to different universes to keep consuming. The gist is a superhero sentry comes to their world and he brings a disease with him that turns people into flesh-eating zombies. And this virus was 100% infectious. The Avengers are the first to fight them, and they're all either killed or infected. They spread the disease to other heroes, and soon they begin to feed on the non-powered population that is basically screwed because these superpowered zombies retain their personality, special abilities, and intelligence, but the hungrier they became, the less intelligent and rational they became. Just look at some of these zombified heroes. My god. Once they fed, they actually became a bit more human and rational and felt intense guilt for what they did. And it was also shown that if they were able to not consume flesh for a certain amount of time, so if they locked themselves away somewhere away from humans, they could actually pretty much become a hero again. They would be basically immortal, but they'd have their rotted body, however it was, when they stopped consuming the flesh. Unfortunately, even though the hunger would stop, if they did accidentally or on purpose consume human flesh again, the hunger would start all over again and they'd have to go through the process again. Here's some of the most fucked up things that happened in this alternate reality, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. After Reed Richards' children are killed by zombie She-Hulk, and by the way, Sue explodes her head in payback, he breaks down and deliberately infects his team, believing the zombies are the superior life form. He then lets them bite him and feast on him. Super fucked. Some of the heroes eating Galactus. Well, that's kinda cool. Except Galactus becomes zombified and then goes to planets and just devours the population. Captain America, or Colonial America in this time, brain being put in Black Panther's dead child. Spider-Man eating MJ. And in case you're wondering, even undead, Spider-Man still pisses people off with his mouth. But it's okay because he kinda gets fucked up a bit in this series. And finally, Hulk punching right through the Phoenix. If you want to see a bunch of other messed up stuff, I really encourage you to pick up the Marvel Zombie series. There's a lot of issues. Number 5, Earth 295, Age of Apocalypse. In this reality, Professor X is killed and a horrible future comes about. the Age of Apocalypse. And this all occurs because of Xavier's son, Legion, who decided that the only way humans and mutants could get along is if he went back in time and killed Magneto. So he traveled back in time, but when he went to stab Magneto, Xavier shielded him and died instead. Destroying his own existence by killing his own father, a new reality took hold. Apocalypse began his world domination. Only Magneto, picking up Xavier's cause, opposed him by bringing together the X-Men. Apocalypse's war on normal humans created a world divided by two superpowers, Apocalypse in North America and the Human High Council elsewhere. Both sides fought and plotted each other's destruction. This war also resulted in certain areas just being nuked or completely disappearing. And there's actually tons more disturbing realities in Marvel Comics, but which is your favorite and which would you least like to live in? I think my pick would be the one where I am dead, which would probably be all of them. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and come back for more comic videos every week. Besides that, I do Star Wars, Game of Thrones, anything sci-fi fantasy related.